Hey everyone, I'm NornQueenAlexis and welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our intro into the 40k universe with a look at the Necrons. The Necrons are the spooky, scary skeleton robots from the 40k millennium, or from 60 million years ago, depending on what the writers have to say. Their lore is constantly changing, just like their personalities, and the robots are a little bit deranged, but I love them. Today we're going to take a look at some of their lore, some of their basic tactics, and what to buy for them for an introduction army for Warhammer 40k. So, what are the Necrons? Well, to get this one going, we need to take a trip back 60 million years ago to the War in Heaven. The War in Heaven was waged between the Necron tier and the Eldar. The Necron tier started pushing through for victory after they had a secession, fighting each other constantly and overall just being jerks. The Eldar, well, not really the Eldar, the old ones created the Eldar, created the Orks, created a bunch of other races to fight the Necron. Necron looked to the stars to find answers. They grabbed the Satan granted them immortality in the form of the Necron tier, or in the form of the Necron robots, the living metal skeletons. Once they had this power, they started overthrowing the old ones, and at this time the Enslavers came to fight them. Enslavers being a warp-based Xenos that devour psychic essence, which haven't really been seen since. Oh well, I guess convenient plot is convenient plot. Anyway, the Necrons, after this devastating battle, all decided to take a nap simultaneously on multiple thousands of worlds. Anyway, while entombed in their ancient slumber, they waited 60 million years for life to either wipe itself out or come back, depending on the story, in which case they rose from their tomb worlds buried deep underground and decided to, depending on the writers, purge all life, kill all life, unify their people, make peace with the Imperium in the case of Trazeen in lieu of collecting items, or overall just trying to take back the spaces that they declared theirs, as well as killing some of their ancient enemies and some young upstarts along the way. The Necrons are a mysterious army, using somewhat weird technology called Gauss and Tesla, Tesla being the more realistic of the two that they use, but the Gauss weapons flow their energy through the entirety of the Necron and are technically vacuum cleaners. And yes, I am dead serious about that. They shoot a deatomizing beam at you and then pull all of that stuff into the gun itself, which effectively makes it a vacuum cleaner. A spooky vacuum cleaner. Sci-fi vacuum cleaner. Anyway, the Necrons have a Mayan/Egyptian theme to them with their names and aesthetics. And if you are into that sort of thing, they are an undead race. They're the closest thing to actually playing Skeleton Kings or Tomb Kings in 40k, or whatever they're called now. I think they're called Night Haunts or something. Spooky. Anyway, the Necrons on the tabletop are quite bland, to be honest. They walk slowly across to midfield, take the objectives, and never die. It's kind of their thing. They just don't die. They don't do close combat all too well, but the melee units that they do have are incredibly devastating. So be careful of that if you are running into them or if you are assaulting with them. Keep in mind that they cannot kill heavy or really good melee units. They want to pick and choose their targets very carefully. The Necron army doesn't really offer much forgiveness in terms of when you start losing versus when you start winning. It is a harder army to learn, though a pretty quick army to pick up. Mastering its tactics can take you some time, but overall, I think you'll find the army to be rather enjoyable. So, let's take a look at this guy who's really proud of his watermelon, and he thinks it's the greatest thing ever, and he's showing everybody just like, look at this watermelon, it is amazing. Or he's practicing his Rasengan. Anyway, moving on. What to buy for this army? The star collecting is actually amazing for this army. If you are going to get into Necrons, the star collecting is fantastic. It offers 2 HQs, 2 troops, and it's actually just good. Like, there is no real bad side to it. Arguably, the boat that comes with it, which I think is called there it is, Catacomb Command Barge or the Annihilation Barge, is arguably a weaker unit compared to the rest of the Necron forces, but what you get in it is well worth it. And I personally think that you will enjoy this army very well. Now, one of the quick tricks that you can do with the Necrons is inherently all of their skeletal bodies are the same and their weapons just go on ball joints into their shoulder pads or into their shoulders. So you can actually take the warriors and put the immortal weapons or the deathmark weapons and head on their body and make cheap conversions. Keep this in mind when actually building the army up. If you have too many warriors in your army and you're just like, well, I'd rather have 30 immortals, you can actually get their weapons relatively cheap offline and build your Necron warriors into immortals. You can also build them into deathmarks as well as building them into flayed ones for whatever reason that you wanted to run flayed ones. And with flayed ones, all you need to do is just add some green stuff and some claws to the Necron warrior, and boom, you have him. Necrons are a very quick army to convert. You can even convert them into Lich Guard rather quickly with just buying one Lich Guard kit and one Necron warrior kit. You can give the Lich Guard secondary weapons to the Necron warriors and build up their secondary form very quickly, which has a shield and axe thingy. But again, they are pretty quick to build, and most players will just be chill with this as a conversion. So, Triarch Praetorians have a bit of a different body, but the Necron Lich Guard, they really don't. They really don't. And Immortals are just Necron warriors with bigger weapons. So, say you can't get the start collecting for whatever reason, or you want to spend the extra $10. I would actually suggest getting a Cryptek. It's an extra $8, but he's extremely efficient. Most armies do have one or two of them in it, and I have to say that there is relatively all good characters in Necron's book. Good, not great. Keep that in mind as we move forward. Now, let's just say for whatever reason you can't get it. You cannot get the start collecting. So what would I suggest? Well, probably the easiest would be a Necron Warrior box at $36 and maybe a Immortal box. This way you can take the God's weapons and the Tesla weapons and put them on the warriors, and you can have a few extra Necron warriors, 5 extra, that don't have weapons, but you do have 2 squads of Immortals for Tesla and Gauze. And then from there I would just buy a Cryptek or cheap HQ. There's really nothing that I wouldn't avoid in this army, as they're all pretty decent. Let's see. Yeah, even the basic Necron Lord is only $18. So you can actually get their characters relatively cheap, which is really, really, really good, by the way. Their newer characters are a bit more expensive, so I highly suggest you pick up their older ones if you are just getting in, as it is a quicker and cheaper way to play the army itself. By the way, the Necron Warriors also come with Scarab Bases. These can be used as a fast attack unit, and from there, you just build more Necrons, build more Scarabs. You just kind of have Scarabs laying around after a bit. Might as well use them. Or another thing that you could build is get 2 Necron Warrior boxes and a Catacomb Command Barge, which you can build into the Annihilation Barge, and you can build into them. It's essentially buying the Start Collecting just in pieces, and it's more expensive. I highly suggest you stick to the Start Collecting and get a Cryptek on top of it. This way it's $108 plus tax USD, and it's a relatively good start to an actual army. And personally, from there, you just expand. Just keep buying Immortals. Immortals are one of their best units. So with that, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below. Also, while you're there, be sure to check out all the links in the description for this video. There you can follow me on all sorts of social media, including Twitch, Twitter, what else? Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. I am good at this. Can you tell? You can check out my Patreon. Patreon goes a long way to helping out the channel. It keeps my belly fed. It keeps me doing videos without having to get an actual job. Well, another actual job, because I manage a game store on top of this. But anyway, with that being said, every dollar helps on Patreon. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis. I love you guys. Bye. Hey everyone, do you want a cool shirt? Be sure to check out my Teespring. Link is in the description down below.